Hello and welcome to the podcast. Coming up, Kelsey Grammer shares how Frasier will address John Mahoney's absence. Liz Truss resigns and will become the shortest serving Prime Minister in British history. And Flash actor Ezra Miller faces up to 26 years in prison. That's all this and more is to come. But first, we start with some breaking news. That's next. First up, this breaking news story. Liz Truss resigns and will become the shortest serving Prime Minister in British history. This is from Sky News. Liz Truss has resigned as Prime Minister just 44 days after taking over from Boris Johnson. She will be the shortest serving British Prime Minister in history. A new Conservative leader who will get the keys to number 10 is set to be elected next Friday. In a statement read outside Downing Street, Ms Truss admitted she could not deliver her mandate. She said, "I came into office at a time of great economic and international instability. Families and businesses were worried about how to pay their bills." She said she was elected with a mandate to change this, adding, "We delivered on energy bills. I recognise, though, given the situation, I cannot deliver the mandate on which I was elected by the Conservative Party. On which I was elected by the Conservative Party," she added. "I have therefore spoken to His Majesty the King to notify him that I am resigning as leader of the Conservative Party. This morning, I met with the chairman of the 1922 committee, Sir Graham Brady. We've agreed that there will be a leadership election to be completed within the next week. Miss Truss will remain as Prime Minister until her successor has been chosen." Sir Graham said the committee expects to conclude a leadership election by Friday, the 20th of October, with a new Prime Minister in place in time for the 31st of October fiscal statement. He said Tory members are expected to be able to vote, but the candidates could be whittled down to just one. A senior Tory source suggested MPs will have to put their nominations in by Monday. Miss Truss's resignation came just a little over 24 hours after she told MPs she was a fighter, not a quitter. Who will be the next Prime Minister of Britain? There have been much speculation about who could replace Miss Truss, with new Chancellor Jeremy Hunt one of the main names being suggested. However, Sky News' deputy political editor Sam Coates says he has been told Mr. Hunt will not stand. Other Tory MPs being suggested as runner for are Penny Mordaunt, Rishi Sunak, Kemi Badenoch, and even ex-Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Former leadership candidate Tom Tugendhat has ruled himself out. Sky News understands Commons leader Miss Mordaunt and Justice Secretary Brandon Lewis are taking soundings from Tory MPs over whether to put their hats in the ring. Loyal Johnson supporter Tory MP James Duddridge tweeted his support for the former Prime Minister, who is currently on holiday in the Caribbean. "I hope you enjoyed your holiday, boss," he said. Time to come back. Few issues at the office that need addressing. Bring back Boris. #. Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer called for a general election now, as he said the British public must have a chance at a fresh start. He added, "The Tories cannot respond to their latest shambles by yet again simply clicking their fingers and shuffling the people at the top without the consent of the British people. They do not have a mandate to put this country through yet another experiment. Britain is not their personal fiefdom to run how they wish." The start of Truss's downfall. Miss Truss's downfall began when her former Chancellor, Kwasi Kwarteng, announced his mini-budget on the 23rd of September, which prompted weeks of economic turmoil and eventually led to him being sacked last Friday. Mr. Hunt, who voted for Rishi Sunak during his leadership campaign, then took over as Chancellor and U-turned on the majority of the unfunded mini-budget tax cuts on Monday, further undercutting Mrs. Truss's authority. On Wednesday afternoon, her Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, then quit after saying she had breached security rules by sending a policy message to a colleague over her personal email by mistake. It only got worse on Wednesday evening after confusion over whether Labour's opposition day vote on fracking was actually a confidence vote in the government or not, which resulted in allegations of physical manhandling of Tory MPs by colleagues. Some Tory MPs had publicly called for Mrs. Truss' resignation before that, but in the hours before she quit, a flurry of MPs revealed they wanted her to go. Conservative Party rules prevent a leader from facing a confidence vote in the first 12 months of their tenure. But it is understood that after a significant number of MPs wrote to Sir Graham Brady, chair of the 1922 Committee of Backbench Tory MPs, calling for her to go, a decision was made then that she could not stay. And that's all on the Sky News website if you want to have a look at that. Up next, we've got Kelsey Grammer shares how Frasier will address John Mahoney's absence after this. Kelsey Grammer shares how Frasier will address John Mahoney's absence. Kelsey Grammer is returning to Frasier in a revival set at Paramount Plus. The actor is addressing how John Mahoney's absence will be dealt with on the show. His loss is and was devastating and must be given the proper attention in honour of the extraordinary man that he was and the contribution he made to the show and to the acting profession, Grammer told Fox News Digital. We will most certainly be honouring him according to his merit. A man of merit he remains to this day. Mahoney died in 2018 and played patriarch Martin Crane in the comedy series. Grammer added, John was a kind man and the world cannot afford to lose a kind man at any time. The sitcom star also made it clear that the new Frasier series is not a reboot. Frasier in his third or fourth act is not a reboot, but a new show centered around that character in a new set of circumstances and a new city, Grummer said. The sequel series comes from writers Chris Harris, How I Met Your Mother, and Joe Cristalli, Life in Pieces, who executive produced with Grummer, Tom Russo and Jordan McMahon. Frasier will be produced by CBS Studios in association with GrammarNet NH Productions. Frasier ran for 11 seasons on NBC between 1993 and 2004, with the show being created by David Angel and Peter Casey and David Lee. The premise of the show centers around psychiatrist Frasier Crane, Grammer returning to his hometown of Seattle, Washington, following the end of his marriage and life in Boston, as it was seen in Cheers. And finally, Ezra Miller pleads not guilty for felony burglary charge, faces up to 26 years in prison. The actor could also face up to $2,000 in fines. The Flash star Ezra Miller has pleaded not guilty to felony burglary charges, and if they are convicted, they face a maximum prison sentence of 26 years and over $2,000 in fines. As reported by Deadline, Miller was charged in Vermont and appeared remotely on October 17th for a session in the criminal division of the Green Mountain State's Superior Court. The charges stem from an incident that occurred on August 7th in Vermont, where Miller allegedly stole 3 bottles of liquor from the pantry of a private home. According to Miller's representative, the home was of Miller's childhood friend, and the actor believed they were able to enter the home to obtain some rice wine as they were cooking with their mother. The rep also said Miller did not realize that the friend didn't want to be friends anymore. At a court on Monday, Miller was told to stay away from the owner of the home, as well as another Vermont resident. The next hearing for this case will be on January 13, 2023. Ezra would like to acknowledge the love and support that they have received from their family and friends, who continue to be a vital presence in their ongoing mental health, said Miller's attorney, Lisa B. Shellcrott. This was just one example of Miller's recent legal troubles, and it joined incidents in Hawaii, Massachusetts, and North Dakota. These allegations include manipulating, intimidating, and endangering people, disorderly conduct, throwing a chair at a woman, grabbing a woman by her throat, grooming minors, and more. There were reports that DC wasn't likely to keep Miller in the Flash role in future DC films, but another report claims that they have been back on set for the Flash reshoots following an apology for their recent behavior. Having recently gone through a time of intensive crisis, I now understand that I am suffering complex mental health issues and have begun ongoing treatment, said Miller. I want to apologize to everyone that I have alarmed and upset with my past behavior. I am committed to doing the necessary work to get back to a healthy, safe, and productive stage in my life. One last report says a sequel to the Flash series has already been. A sequel to the Flash series, to the Flash, has already had its script written, and while that doesn't necessarily mean Miller will be back again, DC is busy planning the beloved character's future. The Flash is set to be released in theaters on June 23rd next year. And that's all we have time for this week. I'll be back in a few weeks' time with more, so stay tuned. I'll play you out one more song. Good night.